Two major developments from Moscow just this morning. President Putin says he is now preparing to address both houses of Russian parliament. This as Moscow has now expelled the deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. That's the second highest ranking diplomat there. The U.S. calling that an escalatory step.
Joining us now to talk about all of this and how this is being received among Russians is Ekaterina Katrikadze, host and news director for Dozhd TV Rain in Moscow, one of the few remaining independent news networks in Russia today. Katya, thank you so much for joining us and giving this perspective for our viewers. You know, I've been watching your network for many months now throughout this crisis, and one thing that stood out is that you and your colleagues just couldn't wrap your heads around the possibility of another major war in 2022. On European soil. I'm just curious, given the latest developments, are you now thinking that it is indeed very likely?
It is possible. It has always been possible. And, you know, these days when Vladimir Putin and other representatives of Russian government were declaring that Russia is not planning anything, and they're just laughing on the statements from the Western politicians, and, you know, they're laughing at the publications in the Western media, saying that, you know, this is all false and this is all disinformation, but still, you know, we can see that there is a concentration of Russian forces at the border. We can still see that the statements of the Russian representatives, they include this word of military technical answer to what's going on in Donbass. So, and they are really threatening Ukraine. They're really threatening European Union and the United States of America. This is a blackmailing position, which is still, it's still going on, and nothing has changed so far.
In Russian state media, do you see preparations for the Russian public for the potential costs of an invasion of Ukraine? Because frankly, predictions are to be bloody for both sides, and in the past, you've seen propaganda include something of a warning of that to prepare the population for that. Have you seen that yet?
We can see that Russia is actually saying that NATO is a threat to Russian Federation, is a threat to Russian security. They are saying that NATO is coming very close to the border, and you know, Vladimir Putin keeps claiming that rockets from Ukraine, if NATO is based in Ukraine, they will reach Moscow, Russian territory in 5 minutes. So this is all going on 24/7 on Russian state networks, television channels, and so on and so forth. What they say is, you know, about the costs that Russia will be obliged to pay is that sanctions are not going to be necessarily so heavy as they say in Washington, because some representatives of European Union are not ready to impose this kind of sanctions. That, you know, Germany is not ready for the serious threat, and Germany is not ready to cut the ties with Russia because of gas and oil and Nord Stream 2 and so on. So, you know, they are their logic is that West is not as united as they try to show, and that we have all seen the sanctions before. You know, starting from 2014, we have seen the sanctions. What has changed, they say. And this logic is kind of a, you know, people take it. People understand that it's not going to be so hard. It's not going to be as severe as they say. This is the idea of propaganda.
Yeah, and Russia's been living under sanctions, as you said, since 2014. Katya, can you explain for our viewers, we talk about Vladimir Putin's affinity and ties, historic ties that he keeps referencing between Russia and Ukraine, but just from the Russian population in general, talk about the relationship between the two countries and the people there. There are so many Russians I know that have family that live in Ukraine. So while they may say, yes, from all of the propaganda we're watching, if there is a war, it's the West's fault, this would be a very difficult struggle, right?
No one actually thinks about going to Kiev seriously. I mean, as I see, there is a very small part of population in Russia which is ready to you know, take over Ukraine as a whole. But the idea that Russia and Ukraine and also Belarus are the parts of one nation, Russian nation, comes from Vladimir Putin, and a lot of people here, they do feel the same as Vladimir Putin, because, you know, they don't believe that Ukraine has a state. They think that Ukrainian Ukrainian language is kind of Russian, but ridiculous Russian, and they think that Ukraine should be a part of this big Russian world, this big mother Russia. Kiev was a capital of the whole Russia historically. So that's why a lot of people here, they do feel the same as Vladimir Putin, but they're definitely, people are not ready for the huge with dead bodies and dead soldiers, and it would be terrible for all of us.
Yeah, and a reminder that it's not going to be anywhere near what we saw in 2014 in Crimea. Not one shot was fired, and that was a very popular, right, incursion, though illegal, on the part of Vladimir Putin. Ekaterina Kadrikadze, thank you so much for joining us and all the work that your network does. Thank you.